So you've got a website, which means you have an audience. But do you really know them? I mean, really? There's this amazing free tool out there that promises to give you all the answers. But let's be honest, it can feel super intimidating. Yep, I'm talking about Google Analytics. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the latest version, GA4. We're going to make it simple and show you how it can help you finally understand what people are actually doing on your site.
So let's just start with that really basic question. You built your website, you're getting traffic, people are showing up, but then what? What happens in that moment after they land on your page? Do you have any idea what they're clicking, what they're looking for, or even how they found you in the first place?
You know, for most of us, the honest answer is not really. It feels like a total black box, right? People come, people go, and everything that happens in between is just a complete mystery. You're basically flying blind, just guessing what's working and what's falling flat.
But what if you had a detective on the case? That is the absolute best way to think about Google Analytics 4. Seriously, it's not just some complicated tool. Think of it as your own personal data detective, here to solve the mystery of what your users are up to.
So what is this thing, really? Well, at its heart, Google Analytics 4 is a free tool from Google. It does one job, and it does it really well. It grabs all the data from your website and then neatly organizes it into reports that give you real, actual insights into your business.
And here's the most important part. It lets you trade in all that guesswork for actual knowledge. So instead of just assuming you know what your audience wants, GA4 gives you the hard data to see their behavior, their preferences, and the exact path they take on your site. No more guessing.
Okay, so to use this detective, you've got to understand how it organizes the clues, right? The good news is the structure of GA4 is actually super logical. Let's break it down really quick.
Everything in GA4 is sorted into 3 really simple levels. At the very top, you have your account. That's your entire company or organization. Then inside that, you create a property. Just think of the property as a big bucket that's going to hold all the data for your website. And finally, you've got a data stream, and that's the tap that actually fills that bucket with data.
And this is the best way to picture it, I promise. Your property is the bucket, just sitting there ready to collect all that juicy visitor information. The data stream, that's the tap, and it's pouring a constant flow of user interactions from your website right into that bucket. It's a simple analogy, but trust me, it's a powerful one to remember.
And you can actually have different taps for different sources of data. GA4 is powerful enough to pull info from Android and iOS apps, but look, for most of us watching this, the one that really matters is the web data stream. That's the tap that connects directly to your website.
Okay, so the data is flowing into your bucket. Now what? Well, this is the fun part. This is where GA4 starts telling you these fascinating stories about your users, just by answering some really important questions. Let's start with maybe the most basic, but also the most critical question every single website owner has. Where are people actually coming from? How are they finding me? Are they Googling me? Are they coming from social media? Did they click on an ad? GA4 answers this beautifully with what it calls acquisition reports. So in these reports, you'll see your traffic all broken down. Organic search, that's just people finding you on Google. Direct, that's for folks who already know you and type your website address right into their browser. And paid search is, you guessed it, traffic from your ads. In a split second, you know which of your marketing efforts are actually working.
All right, so once they get to your site, what are they doing? What are they looking at? Knowing your most popular pages is like having your audience literally raise their hands and tell you, hey, this is the stuff we're interested in.
And GA4 just lays this out for you, plain as day. You get a simple table that shows your top pages by views and users. And with just a single glance, you can see if it's your homepage, a specific blog post, or maybe a product page that's the real star of the show. I'm telling you, this is pure gold for your content strategy. It tells you exactly what kind of stuff to make more of.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, this sounds cool, but it also sounds really complicated to set up. Well, one of the most powerful things about GA4 is a feature called enhanced measurement. The best way to think about it is like an auto track mode that's already switched on for you by default.
So what does this thing track right out of the box? I mean, it's way more than just page views. It automatically knows when users scroll almost to the bottom of your page, when they click on links that go to other websites, what they're typing into your search bar, and even when they download files. And the best part? All of this just happens, automatically. Zero extra setup on your part. Okay, so beyond what GA4 tracks automatically, there are a few little settings you can tweak to get even better data. Which brings me to this very specific number, 7 hours and 55 minutes.
Any ideas what that could possibly be?
Well, that is the maximum amount of time you can set for a single user session, or what you might call a visit. By default, GA4 ends a session after just 30 minutes of inactivity. But you can, and you probably should, go in and extend that. Why? Because it stops one long, thoughtful visit, like someone reading a huge article on your site, from being incorrectly split into 2 or 3 different sessions. This little tweak gives you a way more accurate picture of how engaged your users really are.
All right, so maybe you're convinced. You want this data detective working for you. So how do you actually get started? The whole process is way more straightforward than you probably think.
It really all boils down to one little thing: the Google tag. Now, don't let the word code scare you. This is just a tiny snippet that you add to your website. It's the engine that powers everything. It's the little sensor that watches what users do and sends all that information back to your GA4 bucket. And you've got 3 main ways to get this tag installed. First, the old school way. You can have a developer add the code manually. Second, and this is often the easiest, you can use a plugin or integration if you're on something like WordPress or Shopify. You literally just copy and paste your measurement ID. Or third, there's the most powerful option, Google Tag Manager, which gives you a ton of control down the road.
And now for what is probably the single most important tip in this entire explainer. So please, listen up. Before you do anything else in your brand new GA4 account, go straight to the settings, find data retention, and change it from the default of 2 months to 14 months. If you forget to do this, you won't be able to look back at user data beyond 60 days. This is an absolutely critical, can't be undone first.
So there you have it. We've demystified the tool, we've gone over the structure, and we've talked about how to get started. You now have your very own data detective, ready to get to work. So the only thing left to think about is this. What is the very first question you're going to ask about your audience?